guys, welcome to Talk Tuesday, a series created to empower youth and families through meaningful conversations. Brought to you by Steps Foundation Incorporated, this series blends advocacy and education to support the personal, academic, and social development of young people. Each month, we explore topics that truly matter, designed to strengthen self-awareness, spark growth, and equip you with practical tools to thrive in every area of your life. I'm Maya Tasker, your host and community engagement team lead here at Steps Foundation Incorporated. This April, we're focusing on something that can truly set you up for success, preparing for summer internships and job opportunities. Because this summer isn't just time off, it's an opportunity to step into your future. Whether you're applying for your first job, exploring internship options, or simply trying to build confidence in professional spaces, this month is all about helping you and getting ready to stand out. We'll be breaking down everything you need, from creating a resume that captures attention, to preparing for interviews with confidence, to understanding what it means to show up professionally and make a strong impression once you land that opportunity. The goal isn't perfection, it's preparation. And every step you take now is an investment in who you're becoming. So, let's dive in, build those skills, and get you ready to show up, stand out, and succeed this summer. Over to you, Anastasia.
Thank you. My first question is, what are common mistakes teens make on resumes? That's a tongue twister.
I'll speak from things that I've seen. I feel like a lot of teens feel like they don't have skills, and they have them, a ton of them. I also feel like a lot of teens downplay their experiences. And when I say downplay, they don't think about the places that they volunteer. They don't think about the clubs that they join. They don't think about like organizations that they're a part of. They simply look at resumes and immediately go to, well, I've never had a job. And while you may have never had a job that pays you, volunteer experience works just as good as any job skill could ever work for you because it's still skill building and it's still helping you to develop the things that you would need in the workplace. So I think common mistakes that teens make is downplaying the experiences that they have and not really showcasing the amount of skills that they have. I know oftentimes when I ask teens, like, tell me a skill that you have, and they go, I don't know, I don't have any. And I'm like, you got a ton. Stop playing. I always try to remind them, like, think about the things that you do every day in school. Every day in school, when you show up, you're being reliable. If you're a person who shows up on time, now you're dependable. And if you're a person who loves to take notes and you keep your stuff organized, you're an organized individual. And those are all skills that are worthy of having. Then think about like students who are in high school and utilizing CTE programs. And so those CTE programs are all skills based, and those are hard skills because typically they're leading you to a certification of some sort. So if you're in school and you've taken Microsoft classes with your school, those certifications added to your resume. If you've taken Adobe classes at school and gotten that Adobe certification, it needs to be added to your resume. If you're in culinary and you've done the ServSafe certification, add that to your resume. So any of those things where you are in school and utilizing things that the school's giving you, put it on your resume.
To add on to that, if you ever are looking for volunteer opportunities or want to join something, we are always offering different opportunities or events or programs to help you build those. So come and see us if you're looking into that. Or also, alternatively, if you want to do something online, I think Red Cross or LinkedIn also has these different certification programs that you can take online. So it's usually they're free, a quick little online course, and you can build all these skills and you can put that on your resume too, which is really cool because you get like a whole certificate and everything. Um, One mistake I feel like I always made on my resume, and I still continue to make it now, is that I don't keep track of, I know, I'm working on it, you guys, it's a work in progress, is that I don't keep track of the dates that I do things. So let's say if I volunteer, if I volunteer for something and like I know in my head that I did it, but I don't mark the day, I don't mark the time, I don't mark the duration, if it was several months, only a couple weeks, employers are looking for us to be able to track our kind of work. So it's important that we write the dates of when we start working, of when we do volunteer or whatever, and that we can keep track of those events. So it really is helpful to keep it all in one place, whether it's like an index card or on your notes app or whatever, instead of having to pour through it and all your records every single time you go and apply for something, because that's what I'm stuck doing. So, advice from future advice. Write down your dates. It's very helpful.
I love that you say you still struggling with it. It's like, I did it then and I'm doing it now. And that is true. That is 100% true. The tracking of the duration that you're with the place. And a lot of times, like, you guys, you don't have to remember the exact date. If you know the month and the year, you're good, because typically that's all you're putting on your resume anyway, is the month that you started there and the year that you started there and the month that you left and the year that you left. And I to that point too, Maya, I love that you brought that up, because I think sometimes people don't think about the break in between, right? So when you're often volunteering, you don't volunteer there every day. So sometimes I think students will overthink it as well. But if you're volunteering there once a year, use that as a continuation. So the year that you started, and if you're still doing it, then it's current. You don't have to put an end date because you're still doing it. Even if it's not an everyday thing or every month thing, you're still an active volunteer because you're showing up within a year. So also think about like short-term things. So I know sometimes when you are working in a club, maybe you just did that club for the semester. You're part of it for the entire semester. So put the entire semester's date on there. And so I know sometimes like students will join clubs in January. So it's the second half of your quarter. So you would go from January to May when school ends. If it is something that continues during the summer, keep it open and just put to current, because you're still working there. If you know that you're still going to be part of that club next school year, don't put an end date. Keep it open, because you know you're going right back to that club. So, to Maya's point, employers like to see longevity as well. How long are you sticking with a thing? Because that also shows them that you're dependable if they hire you, that you're a person who sticks with the thing, you want to continue to learn, you want to continue to grow. And every time you get a new skill or every time you learn something new, continue to add that to that portion of your resume as well as a new skill learned, even if it's under the same volunteer platform that you've been working with.
I agree. And something I would add to that as well is a common mistake that I see teens do is putting too much words in their resume. Employers do not like to read like that. And you have to put in keywords that intrigues them to follow up with you. So using words like organized or teamwork or builder, leader, fixer, things like that. That helps employers look at you differently than others. Adding things like, well, I walk dogs every 2 weeks, and then after that, I babysit. So I'm pretty good at doing this. Things like that bring uncertainty and too much wording, and they get less interested in you. So um, I would look for guidance counselors or look online for, I guess, I don't know what words you would call it, but they have a template of words that you can use depending on your personality. So I personally use a pamphlet from Career or Florida Career Source or something like that. And they have a template of the type of words that you would use depending on what you do. So me being in marketing, my words would be organized, strategic, helpful, things like that. So those were good responses. I loved everyone's. Okay, next question. How can students build a resume with little to no work experience?
Look, them certificates will carry you. Get all them opportunities. Cause especially with what y'all just said over here, with that with them hard and soft skills. We learned about that at some point. Them hard and soft skills, add them to your resume every time you get a new one. Add the ones that you already learned. And word advice for resumes. When you apply for like work, cater your resume to that job and what skills you require for that job. Because that will make them way more interested in you because you're like it looks like you're more qualified for that job and what they want you to do. So add all them skills, add them volunteer hours, because the volunteer hours give you more skills and it looks better on your resume regardless. Add all the clubs and opportunities that you didn't have that you've been able to take advantage of. Because at the end of the day, it's going to make you look more qualified. It's going to make you look more valuable in the eyes of the employer.
What program you learned that in, young man?
The one I'm representing right now.
What program is that?
Still Foundation.
But which program?
Was that not the was that survival or retain your brain? Because I think it was survival.
Okay, survival program. That's them life skills.
Okay, yeah,
Let's
yeah.
go.
See, I got it right. I got it right.
Oh, do you guys
Let's
have room for
go.
one more?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
some
So
of that.
she like, what else? What other program you learned that in? It's on your screen, bro. It's on your screen.
See, I've been able to utilize them skills at YPA. Mhm.
Let's go.
There's a
I
difference
love
between
it.
learning it and putting it to work.
Yes, 100%. 100%. There is a difference between learning it and putting it to work. I love that. Yes. And I feel like I don't even have to go and add nothing else to what he said because I think he covered that answer.
Mhm. So, what should every teen include on their first resumes? I feel like this might be a trick question for some because they are going to say pictures. That's a wrong answer.
I think initially, if you speak any different languages, if you speak English proficiently, or if you speak Spanish or Creole or Portuguese, whatever it is, you write it down, you say you're proficient, you say your level, or if you don't really, you're not super proficient, then just don't put a level. It's really all about phrasing your skills and portraying yourself in a way where you're kind of building yourself up because you do have all those skills and you have everything there. It's just a matter of putting it on paper and phrasing it properly to put you at an advantage. So, languages is a super great place to start. Um, yeah, if you have a little sister, a little brother, siblings that you take care of, you can include that and spruce up the language. Be like, I independently oversaw this, that, and the other thing. It's about the language. But yeah, other than that, other than the certifications, I'm not sure what else I'd love to hear.
I can't say language 100% matters. I always tell students when they're creating their resume to go back and find those job descriptions online and use the verbiage from the job descriptions to help them capture things that they've done. And so I love when you said like, hey, if you're watching your little brother and your little sister, like you are 100% working in the aspect of being that babysitter or the person who is like a childcare worker. So while you may not have worked in the childcare space per se in a building, you're still using childcare skills. So you can go and look up the childcare or the early learning teachers job description and see what applies to the things that you've done with your brother or your sister or your cousin or the neighbor's kid. And sometimes, it's the person down the street who you're babysitting for. So utilize some of those skills. Also, look and see what companies in your area may offer free CPR and first aid classes if you're a person who's watching students, because CPR and first aid can go on your resume and you just never know where you might end up working that's a requirement and you already have it. And because you already got it, that means the company don't have to pay for you to get it and they gonna hire you. So it's things like that where you want to kind of look at what other things you can kind of add onto your resume. I know oftentimes we have a lot of students who play sports. And if you play a sport and you're like a person with a title in your sport, so maybe you're the team captain or like maybe you're the vice president or whatever it is, those are things you want to add to your resume because it shows leadership skills, leadership and team building. So you want to be able to add those things on your resume, and hopefully communication falls on your resume somewhere too, because as a student in school, you should be knowing how to communicate with your teachers and your peers. So whether it's in writing or verbally talking to them, communication is a long way, and a lot of employers want to see that you know how to communicate and that you're a good communicator. So that is definitely one that I would say should go on every student's resume is communication. And then anywhere that they have had any type of leadership role or sports that they're playing or things like that.
I have a question actually. I wanted to ask your opinion on this. The career development office at my school, they say that we should include hobbies on our resume. And I was like, hobbies? I was like, why would an employer care about hobbies? You know what I mean? Like, but maybe they have a point behind it. They're saying it's a good talking point to start off of or see what your interests are outside of employment and what makes you you. I wanted to know your opinion on that, if you don't mind me asking.
Only if it's relevant to the job, I would say. And because I would not just throw random hobbies on a resume because the employer really don't care about your hobbies, to be honest. So I will say, like, as a person who was a hiring manager, the first thing I'm looking at when a resume comes to my desk is where you located. Because is it close to the office or is it further away? Because if you are further away, you are less likely to show up to work every day. The second thing that I'm looking at is what is the relevant experience to the job. If it's something where I know like I don't need you to have a whole lot of experience, then cool. Like I'm just gonna look at what skills do you have that help make you employable for this specific position. So the skills are definitely one that should be, and I always tell people like put your skills first, like make your skills stand out more because it's the first thing typically that a lot of recruiters and employers go to before even looking at your experience. And when it comes to your experience, like Anastasia said, you don't want it to be overly wordy. You want it to have specific keywords and how is it relevant to the position that you're applying for right now. And so we're looking at how long were you there and what did you do. And in the what did you do, we're literally skimming it because we're not reading it line by line. Don't send us no 20-page resume because we're not gonna move past the first page. And it was you, Anastasia, that said pictures. Yeah, y'all do not put no pictures on your resume. And literally, as teens, there is no reason why your resume should be 20 pages long if you've never worked a job.
A lot of
So
skills.
right. So shorten it down, condense it, and make it something that is truly plausible to the position for which you are applying. You want it to be appealing. You want to stand out. And that's one of the ways that you're going to stand out is by putting your skills where it's kind of like your highlight, that your skills be your highlight. So I love that question, Maya. Like I would not put hobbies on a resume if it is not relevant to the job, because the employer is gonna look at it and be like, okay, well, I need to know this. I really don't care. um, and I feel like too, it's like it's taking the place of something that you could put there that's more important.
You know what is important though? What skills did you learn from that hobby? Mm-hmm.
That's 100% true. That's 100% true. And I love that you said that because like let's think about like people who like to crochet and that's their hobby. From that one hobby of crocheting, I could think of like three skills. What are some skills that come to your mind from crocheting?
Detail oriented.
What else?
Precision,
What else?
patience.
Boom. Look at that. So I'm like, you can literally think of all the things, right, that come out of the hobby. A lot of students are gamers, right? And so even thinking about gaming as a hobby, what are the skills that we can pull out of gaming?
Depending on the game, critical thinking skills,
Mhm.
communication,
Uh-huh.
and like what's it called? Precision, also depending on the game.
There's another big one.
I would say definitely driven. They're
Oh, yes, I like
driven
that.
to keep going and get in that podium.
Because they dedicated.
They're dedicated.
But problem solving. Because when they're sitting there, they're literally problem solving how they're going to win this game. So it's like, you can take skills like Lamar said from your hobby and use it on your resume. So let's say even our students that are artsy, so those that love to draw or paint, what are the skills?
Creative,
There we go.
flexible maybe.
100%.
Good motor skills.
Yep. The fine motor skills on point. And Maya said one too earlier, the attention to detail. Because when you're thinking about like painting, drawing, anything that's in that artsy field, like the attention to detail is there. And then Anastasia was like being motivated and dedicated to the craft and the patience as well. So like there are so many skills that you can pull out of a hobby. Use it. Use it to your advantage.
I agree. I agree. I'll also say, oh, what were you saying, Maya?
Oh no, girl, go ahead. It's my bad. Continue.
I will also say definitely GPA. If you have a good GPA, I would definitely put that in there because that shows that you're attentive and that matters. That's one of your top priorities is making sure that your schoolwork is on point. And if you do put in, because I did know in one of my classes, some employers do like when you give them a little bit about yourself, but it's not too much, just a little bit. But being in high school, you can say things like first generation student. That's very important because that puts you in the limelight of you being out there more than others. Being a first generation student is very important. And it's not as talked about as much as you think, unless it's like scholarships. But that's super important. And even what Abby said, nobody should have 20 pages of a resume. And it's good if you have all those skills, but I think what you should do is you should put all your skills in a Word document and when you file, would not file, but when you apply for a job and you want to do your resume, you should pick the skills that match with the job description. So that way you're not adding 300 things at once or adding all of these action words at once because a creative job doesn't really want to hear about you having precision. It's like, or other words, it's like, oh, I'm not really looking for that. I'm kind of looking for creativity. I'm kind of looking for detailed. I'm kind of looking for communication. So that I think that's super important. That's something that I do. I have my own Word document for my resume, and I go on ChatGPT and I say, okay, this is the job description. This is my resume. Tell me what I should take from this. Tell me what I should leave, and it fixes up for me. And yeah, I think that's something that every teen should honestly include when it comes to doing their resume. Because honestly, a resume is overwhelming.
Chat is so good for helping you come up with descriptions for the position that you did or whatever. The ideal, from my understanding, is maybe 2 to 3 lines, but simple, concise, and then chat if you tell it like, oh, I babysat, and then it'll give you like that fluffed up language that's not super insane, but it makes you a lot more desirable to the employer because it's phrased in a certain way. Super helpful. And if you find yourself struggling to make a resume, at least for the template, I know that Google Docs, and I'm not sure about Microsoft Word, but Google Docs definitely already has a template that you can just add on to, and it makes it super simple. It's just your title, the date, description, and like that's pretty much it.
100%. The only word of advice that I'm going to give students who decide to use Chat GPT, because I've seen this too.
Uh-oh.
Be very mindful of the words that Chat GPT spits out that doesn't necessarily represent you. because it is so easy to copy and paste the thing that chat gives you, and then you send it over to the employer. And then when you're sitting in the interview, you've used words that you don't even know what they mean. And now when they spit it back at you, you look lost in the sauce. So be very mindful, students, if you are using Chat GPT and you don't even know the word that you're writing in your resume, you probably shouldn't use it. So make sure that you read what it's giving you and that you make it appropriate for you. Put it in a language that you know that you can understand that will help you to be able to explain should you be asked a question that was written on your resume.
1,000% agree. I go to my mom every time. I'm like, hey, can you look at this real quick? It doesn't match me because you have to get a different perspective, honestly. Okay, another question. How can parents support teens with resume building? Speaking of parents.
One thing I found super helpful when I was trying to build my resume is I asked my parents about their connections. Um, when I was 12, it was a little bit harder to establish. I'd be like, hey, do you have any friends who might want a babysitter? And then they can help you reach out or they can help you direct your interest into something that might take you. They're more familiar with the hiring community, more volunteering, options or opportunities around you. Um, or if you want to volunteer for something and you're nervous about it, maybe your parents can go with you. They could accompany you, you can make it a thing. I think we could definitely do that in the opportunities that we have here at Steps for you. If you want to volunteer with your mom or dad, it would be great. Just let us know. But yeah, I think being supportive definitely is super important.
I feel like being able to kind of support them and give them the information and kind of the experience on their end to kind of help them through that, especially because, look, a lot of kids who have parents, their parents work a job, they had to go through that same process too. So it'd be helpful for them to not only support them but for them to kind of like walk them through that whole process and be able to kind of give them the gist of how to do it, but like put it in their own way.
I agree.
100% agree.
Oh,
Oh, come
sorry.
on, come on, come
No, go,
on.
go, 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 go.
uh, as a parent of a growing teen, because in all his years, he's done 1,000 things. And I feel like the support is what's needed for sure when it comes to students and resumes and job searching. I love what you said, Maya. The network, parent introducing their kids to their network and allowing them to see, you know, how do they have conversation in a room? How do you continue to communicate? How do you build relationships with people in different spaces? How do you maintain those relationships with people in different spaces? And then being able to see, when you are transitioning from one position to another or one job to another, including your kids in that transition so that they can understand what transition looks like, even because a promotion is a big deal for a lot of families. But I think sometimes parents miss the opportunity of being able to share how they got to the point where they're able to get that promotion, and their kids being able to understand what that even means, and how can they continue to go and be promoted when they're in the workforce, things like that. I feel like everything is a teachable moment, to be honest. And I think it's always just good to have conversation in general. But parents, show your kids your resume. Even talk about what it was like when you started building your resume, because resume building for our parents is not what resume is for us right now, which is also not what resume is for you guys right now. So each generation has seen a shift in what resume writing looks like. And so I think it's important to kind of like see what that is coming from each generation. So if there's a grandparent around, like grandparents didn't necessarily have to have resumes when they were coming out. Like they just when they applied for jobs, they got them. And even then, like jobs really focus more on longevity than most jobs do now. So like when we talk about like longevity, like parents were at jobs for 30 years, 40 years, like they're there and they're retiring there. Like that's it. um in my age group is like, yeah, you know, we kind of had some of that, but not really. Like there's some longevity, but for us, it was like, okay, 5, 10 years down the road, I'm looking for something bigger and better, and you're either gonna help me get it or you're not, and I'm moving on. And like now, even in this generation of workers that are in the workforce, it's a cycle. We're in, we're out, and you may see that person as an employee 6 months tops before they're cycling to somebody new. And I think it's gonna become even less of a staple with our teens going into the workforce because now it's like, okay, I don't gotta work here. Next. And they're turning it over even faster now. So I think having those conversations, even as families, and understanding like what that looks like because it's different, and helping your team to understand how do they navigate the workforce outside of a resume, and then how do you talk to the boss who may be the boss that's looking for longevity versus the boss who's like, we need to fill a need right now.
I agree. I 100% agree. Especially when it comes to wanting to see what your parents' resumes look like or your relatives. That's super important because it honestly relieves a person's mind seeing like, okay, I'm not doing too much. I thought I was, or maybe I'm doing too little. So that really does help with encouraging. I could say another thing that I do, which Ivy kind of said, but I was thinking about it a little differently, which was like doing a mock interview. I really do love mock interviews. And whenever I'm ready to present something, and that's even with school, whenever I'm about to present something or talk to somebody, I always ask my parents, like, hey, I need you to be that person and ask me questions. And I need you to ask me some bonus questions that we did not quiz about. So that way I can see how I'm going to react with something that I didn't know you were going to ask me. And that really does help because after it's done, you guys can debrief about like, how was I reacting? What did I say? What can I do better moving forward? Because I realized, including with myself that I'm working on, whenever we talk to, and then I guess the boss or whenever we're being interviewed, we get nervous and we say a lot of ums and likes and and that leaves us in like a brain fog. So things like that, whenever you're doing your mock interviews, that's something that you have to pay attention to because even though they understand you're nervous, they're like, okay, that's all you got. No oh, that's all you got, and likes and It's like, we need to hear more than that. We need to hear you like on the go. We need you to stay ready so you don't have to get ready. So that's something that I honestly hope parents can do with their children. Hit them with some throw balls and, you know, let them see how nervous they get. Okay. What's the difference between a resume and an application? That's something that could be very confusing for some.
I feel like okay, the resume is a way more versatile. The resume is kind of like your introduction. The application is you asking, okay, this position is what I'm trying to do. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I have right now. The resume is more of an introduction, and the job application is more of a okay, this is what I'm looking for in this position, and this is what I'm looking for in this corporation.
See where you going there, young man. I see you. I see you. You in the ballpark. You in the ballpark. Your resume is typically what you're bringing with you, right? It's the thing that you bring with you that talks solely about you. and all of the things that you do, your accomplishments, your experiences, your skills. The application is the employers. This is where they're saying we need all of the legal things about you so that if we hire you, we're in compliance. And so the application will typically ask for your full address, your phone number, your social security number. It will ask you to put your employer background information on there as well. So like if you have work skills, it's gonna go on there. If it's a job that requires a background check, there's going to be a background check question on there. So this is literally what they're asking of you, and typically they will ask what position you are applying for. So that's why I'm like, Lamar, you're in that ballpark. You're in that ballpark. They'll ask what position you're applying for. When is your availability for that position? Are you willing to work Monday through Friday? Can you work on the weekends? They want to know all of that on that application, where typically that is not something that you have to put on your resume. So remember, like your resume is always like a selling point. It is you showcasing all the great things. If you ain't never in your life wanted to brag, that is the time to brag. Okay. When I say every great thing you've ever done needs to go on your resume. If you won the talent show in ninth grade, you put in that you want, because that's an accomplishment, you're going to add it to your resume. If you won the spelling bee or the civics bee in 10th grade, you're going to add that to your resume. If you won a scholarship and it was like a hard scholarship and you had to write this phenomenal essay, you won't put that on your resume as an accomplishment. You want to look at all the great things that you've ever done, and that is your selling point. You are basically telling them, this is why you want me. The application is factual. They're not asking you to sell anything. They're not asking you to spruce it up. It is exactly what it is. You're going to answer these questions point blank, and there's nothing in between. So they don't care how pretty you make that look, because they're asking what they're asking. That's it. That's all. So that is pretty much your difference in your application and your resume. Typically, you're going in with the resume that you wrote yourself, that you made look pretty, and you're handing it over. And typically, the application, it is what they created that you're filling out and turning back in.
I actually have a bone to pick with applications, okay? But with good reason. So I find oftentimes, ever since I was in high school, I would start, applying for jobs and I'd fill out the application. And I remember I told one of my teachers once, I was like, why do I have to put in the same information that I had on my resume? Why do I have to put it again on my application? They already saw it the first time. And my teacher told me, he was like, yeah, it's on purpose. They want to make sure that you're consistent. They want to make sure that the information that you're giving them is accurate. They want to make sure that you're not changing any facts. They want to make sure it's the same from here to here. So it's super important, like I said, to have those dates written down. Start now, guys.
It's
Yeah.
funny that you said, because that is every student's gripe when it comes to filling out the application. And for those of you who are wondering exactly what she's talking about, in that part where I say, like, they're going to ask you about your employment history for teens, if you don't have employment history, this is where you're putting that volunteer experience. And so they're literally asking you to regurgitate what's on your resume.
The exact same thing. Drove me crazy, still does.
Yep.
But it's
And
important.
to her point, that's exactly what they're looking for, discrepancies. And the reason for that too is an application, you guys, is a legal binding document, as where your resume is not. And so there are people who get fired because HR went back and looked at their application and they stated that they did something that they did not do. So yeah, and yes, it's a fireable offense because you wrote it on a legally binding document. So yes, you do want to pay close attention to what you are writing on an application, because can it come back and bite you? Yeah. What's the likelihood of it? I mean, you take your pick, it's slim to none, but do you really want to be that slim one? To that none? So, it's like, it's a toss up. But yeah, that is exactly why they ask you to write it again, because now it's on a legal document. So if you lied about it and they find out that you lied, you can get fired. And depending on the position, sometimes even get fined. So, it's important. If you're doing it now, like everything now is online. So a lot of times now when you're looking at applications, if you upload your resume, it'll automatically fill it in for you.
I definitely agree. Definitely agree. Um, that is a very can't even say the word, I'm tongue twisted. Um, but you guys know what I'm trying to say. It's a trick thing with resumes and applications because they think, well, if I'm already having an interview and putting in my resume, why do I need to apply? Or what do I need to get in my resume if I already applied? Those are very important things, especially when it comes to background checks. If you're not worried, just do it. Just do it. Okay, last question. And this question is a food for thought scenario question. Y'all know I love a scenario question. We have teens that are applying to places, but they get no answers. They are going on Indeed, they are going on LinkedIn, they are going on Career Source, but sometimes they can't find anything no matter how many times they apply. And some can feel discouraged because they feel like either they're putting too little or too much, or they're just not wanted. What would you tell a teen who is going through that, facing multiple denies, multiple waiting lists, and no follow-ups?
Look, when we just talking about rejection, look, this is that rejection. It's okay. They wasn't meant for you clearly. And after a certain point, they're gonna realize it's gonna come back to bite them. Because when you working for a rival company, and you doing a good job at that rival company, they're gonna be like, and we had the chance to get this person. So look, don't stop, keep going. Because eventually you're gonna find that right opportunity that's gonna help you grow, and it's gonna help you look better in the long run.
100%. And you know
He
what?
got the gold bar.
100%. That's just part of it. I mean, you could apply to a billion and get rejected a billion times, but all it takes is that one to get it. So you just have to keep pushing, you know? Don't hold it personal. They get a lot of applications. Um, If you want to follow up with your employer, you also totally can. If you had an interview, you send a little thank you email afterwards. After a week or two, well, maybe not 1 week, maybe 2 weeks later, you haven't heard anything back, follow up, send an email, show your interest. But if you ultimately get rejected, it's just part of the process. It happens to everybody. Trust me, you're not the only one.
I love this tea y'all over here spilling. I'm loving it. And so for me, I always look at, I love how Lamar started, because Lamar like, did we just talk about rejection last month? Look, y'all, it's okay. And I love that because it is okay. And like Maya said, you just keep applying to new places. One thing that I will say is utilize your support systems. Ask other people to look over your resume again. Have open conversations about your resume. If it's not your parents, talk to your teachers, talk to your guidance counselors. If you guys want us to check your resume, send it over. We'll check your resumes. But utilize people within your community to help you rewrite or even tailor it to a specific job if that's what you feel you need help with. Um, Applying can be an emotional roller coaster a lot of times. And it's not always you, to be honest. I I have this conversation too, even sometimes with our college interns that are with us, because it's a whole process. So look, y'all, from high school to college to adulting in general, like it's always a thing, and it's a process no matter what part of life you're in this season. And so one thing I tell people is like, sometimes employers post positions online that were never meant for you to fill. And I know that sucks to hear because it feels like it's a total waste of time. But because of the company's rules, they have to open it to the outside public before they can close it, even if they've already hired internally. So a lot of times there's positions that they were never going to call you for anyway. So to Lamar's point and to Maya's point, don't always think that it's you, that you're the problem, because you're not always the problem. But again, it never hurts to ask someone else to look over your resume. It never hurts to ask someone, hey, can you continue to practice interviewing with me? So that you feel more confident as you're putting it out there, and that then you start to remember that it's not you. And again, some places aren't meant for you to be there, and your place is coming.
1,000% agree. I love how we tied in last month's Talk Tuesday because that is where that came from. And for those who didn't join last month, rejection was part of it. And I think that ties in even with this because applying, everybody can apply, everybody can put in your resume. But when you go through that process, it's very tedious and it's long and it's boring sometimes because it's like, oh my gosh, how many times do I have to do this? But it should never be discouraging because you didn't get the position. It's only a redirection. And it's honestly okay. I mean, I don't want to work at that place anyway. I just wanted the money. So don't even fret. It is honestly okay. There will be a whole nother position. And just know that there is support systems that you have. You have everywhere you look, you have somebody that's there for you. There have your parents have gone through it, your aunt has gone through it, your guidance counselor has gone through it, your mentor has gone through it. So many people have gone through it. It's not everybody's first rodeo. So before we wrap up today's conversation, we've been talking about preparing our for opportunities, building resumes, showing up confidently, and getting ready for summer jobs and internships. But preparation isn't just getting the opportunity. It's about becoming the kind of person who's ready for it. So now we're passing it over to one of our youth program ambassadors to share how you can take that next step.
Hey y'all, it's Lamar, and I'm a youth program ambassador with STES Foundation, as y'all know. And this month, we've been talking about getting ready for internships and jobs. But let me tell you something. The best way to prepare for opportunities is to put yourself in spaces where you can grow. And that's exactly what our youth program ambassadors program is all about. Open enrollment is still available for the 2026-27 school year, and we're looking for students who want to build leadership skills, gain real-world experience, speak up on issues that matter, and grow into confident, prepared young professionals. If y'all serious about leveling up, not just for the summer, but for your future, this is y'all's moment. And as ambassadors, we just don't talk about issues, we take action. And we're excited to share our upcoming mental health initiative, the Green Space Virtual Panel, on May 15th at 6 p.m. This panel is all about creating space for real conversations around mental health, hearing from voices that matter, and learning how we can support ourselves and each other in meaningful ways. Y'all don't want to miss this. And if y'all ready to learn more or get involved in the community, here's some more important dates to check out. Look, we got April 11th at 12 p.m., The Color Review, a creative art-based mental health workshop where you can explore emotions, coping skills, and self-expression to support a space. We ain't judging nobody. April 15th at 6 p.m., I Want That Car. This is a part of our Survival Spark series. If y'all think about getting your first car, learn the basics of car ownership, budgeting, and what to look out for before you buy that car. On April 18th at 12 p.m., we have a virtual suspects and secrets. Join us for an interactive murder mystery experience. Solve clues, have fun, and win prizes. Y'all know we always got prizes for something. YPA information sessions. I'm pretty sure these are our last ones. We have one on April 18th at 3 p.m. and we have one on April 19th at also at 3 p.m. Come learn what it means to be a YPA member and how you can be a part of something bigger. April 27th at 6:30 p.m., we have our virtual teen program open house. And on the next day, April 28th at 6 p.m., we have our in-person teen program open house. Get a full look into our programs, meet the team, and see how you can get involved with them. Opportunities aren't just given, they're built through preparation, connections, and a willingness to grow. So if you're ready to step into your next level, build confidence, and be a part of a community that's all about leadership and impact, we're ready for you. Register and learn more at www.stepsfoundation.org/events and follow us at Steps Foundation at Steps Foundation Steps Foundation Inc. to stay connected. Because your future isn't something you wait for, it's something you build.
Beautifully said. I love it. All right, guys. Preparation isn't about having everything figured out. It's about willing to learn, show up, and taking that next step forward. And just like any journey, it won't always feel easy, but it will always be worth it. This month, we're leaning into conversations about building strong resumes, showing up confidently in interviews, and finding the right opportunities, and also understanding what it means to carry yourself professionally. Because success doesn't come from opportunity, it comes from preparation, meeting the moment. Showing up ready also isn't about being perfect. It's about being intentional. It's about putting in the effort, believing your potential, and taking every experience, big or small, as your chance to grow. So, as you move forward, remember this. You don't have to know everything to get started. You don't have to be perfect to be prepared. And you don't have to wait for the right time to go after what you want. Every application you submit, every interview you step into, and every opportunity you explore is building your confidence, your experience, and your future. Growth takes effort, and it takes courage and consistency, but every time you show up ready to learn and ready to try, you're already winning. Now, to close this out, I'm Maya Tasker, and it's been an honor wrapping up this meaningful conversation with you guys. Thank you for being part of Talk Tuesday this month. Remember, the power of positivity is always within you. Until next time, stay strong, stay curious, stay true to yourself, stay inspired, stay empowered, and keep leading the way. Bye, guys.